So back when I was in my early university days, back in 2018, 2019, there was a meme that used to go around where it was basically a triangle and it had three sides to the triangle. Maybe I'll link it. So basically it said, get good grades, get good sleep, and have a good social life. And basically the meme said, you can only have two. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I thought this was dumb because I was going into university. I wanted to have an amazing social life. I was so excited to have a really good social life in university. I wanted to get good grades, obviously, because I was studying engineering. I wanted to get really good grades, set myself up nicely for my career. And of course, I didn't want to die early. So I wanted to have good sleep. I wanted to sleep well. But I didn't just want those three things. I also wanted to have hobbies. I wanted to be able to read. I wanted to be able to read and learn. I wanted to be able to have a side hustle so I could get some money on the side, build some skills for my life. I wanted to be able to do mental health habits. Basically, I wanted not just two things, I wanted like 8 things to balance in my day. But here was the problem I was encountering. My days were just disappearing. So I don't know how to explain this, but basically I would wake up in the morning, I would have breakfast, suddenly it would be afternoon somehow. And then I would get ready to study in the afternoon, and then suddenly it would be nighttime. I would do maybe like an hour of study and suddenly it was time to go to bed. I don't know how to explain this, but time was just disappearing from my days. And when I looked back on those days, it didn't look like anything in particular was taking my time. It seemed like time was just disappearing. And I started looking into this, and apparently this is very common, especially among people with ADHD. I mean, I don't know if I have ADHD or not, but apparently it's something called time blindness, where essentially you're not aware that time just seems to disappear. Like I know it would get to like week 4 and I would be like, oh my gosh, the semester has already started. We're 1 month in and I didn't even realize. I hadn't even started studying. Or I would take literally hours just to get ready to go somewhere. So turns out there's this thing called time blindness. And so I wanted to fix this. I started getting really obsessed with productivity. I started reading every single book I could get my hands on, every single podcast, became obsessed with productivity, and I learned a bunch of time management principles and tips. And it all accumulated in probably in 2023, last semester. During that semester, I managed to grow my YouTube channel from 0 to 25,000 subscribers. I was exercising, I had a social life, I was reading every single day, and I was studying my engineering degree. And so I managed to balance all these things largely thanks to time management, which is such an important thing. It's basically, we all have 24 hours in our day, but how we manage those 24 hours, that's gonna dictate how you actually spend them. So in this video, I'm gonna go through the top principles that I learned in that semester, which will help you be able to balance everything that you wanna do and still get good grades. Okay, so real quick, if you want to study less but get better grades, study more efficiently, check out the first link in the description. That's my online community. Check it out if you're interested. But okay, let me get into the first tip here. So this is something I actually learned a couple of years ago, and this is probably one of the biggest productivity principles that's coming back and actually helping me a lot even these days. It's a huge one. So I first watched this video a couple of years ago by this guy called Sam Ovens. And basically he talks about this principle called death by 1,000 cuts. So basically what this means is we think productivity, we think losing our time is about these massive events. We're like, oh bro, I can't go hang out today because I gotta study. You know, I don't wanna waste time going to the shops because I need to study. You know, I don't wanna waste time cleaning my house because I need to study. We think it's these big events that actually take all our time and destroy our productivity. But what Sam Ovens helped me realize through this death by 1,000 cuts principle is that actually it's not these big events that ruin our productivity. It's actually these tiny little events that occur throughout the day. And it's these so-called 1,000 cuts throughout the day, which drain our energy very, very slightly and actually affect our productivity overall. I'll give you some examples here that I can think of from my life. A big example is simply micro decisions. So, for example, throughout the day, there's something called decision fatigue. Every time you have to make a decision, your brain gets a little bit fatigued, which makes it more difficult to make the next decision. So if throughout the day you're making decisions, by the time it comes to the time when you have to study, and you have to decide between studying or scrolling on your phone, If you've been decision fatigued all day, you're probably more likely to reach for your phone. So what I mean by micro decisions here is, for example, simply what to eat. Now, I remember back in university when I had to cook my own meals. I would spend so much more time than you realize thinking about what you're going to eat. I would literally wake up and I would think, what's for breakfast? What's for breakfast? And that thought would loop in my mind while I was showering. That thought would loop in my mind while I was studying. And then after I was done studying, it would loop in my mind. I had to decide, okay, what am I going to eat? Do I go to the supermarket? Do I get some food? Should I do this? Should I do this? Should I do this? A simple decision as what to eat drains you more than you realize. And I was doing that 3 times a day. I was deciding when should I eat? I was deciding what should I eat? I was deciding, if I eat this meal, is it going to affect me later? Is it going to do this? Is it going to do this? And I wanted to gain weight as well. So I was like, is this going to be enough calories? Do I have to hit this later? Should I hit these micronutrients? Having to make this decision 3 to 5 times a day, that's one of the so-called 1,000 cuts. So it's these tiny micro decisions that actually affect you a lot more than you realize. Some other examples I've got here is simply deciding what you're going to study and where you're going to study. So students, they'll wake up and they'll be like, oh, should I study now? What should I study? Where should I study? This kind of stuff should be decided ahead of time and it should be automated. Like maybe in the mornings, you go to the library and you study there. Or in the mornings, you study in your room. You should know what is the most urgent task that you need to study so you don't have to keep deciding it every single minute of the day, because it actually drains your energy more than you realize with decision fatigue. And when your brain is constantly looping, making decisions, it tires you out. I know this because the other day I experienced this. So I woke up a lot later than usual the other day. So normally I have my days pretty much planned out the night before and I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to wake up at this time. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go here, then do this, then do this. But the other day I ended up waking up a little bit late. I woke up at 11 o'clock a.m. and it was a bit later than usual and I didn't plan my day. And immediately I was very disoriented. I was like, oh, okay, what should I do? I was like trying to decide, should I study now? Should I study later? Should I eat first? Should I not study? Should I work? Should I work? Should I eat? Because I'm working on a business, right? Should I work? Should I eat? Should I do this? Should I exercise now? Should I do it later? Oh, but the sun's up. Should I go get some sun? Oh, but I got to shower first. Oh, I should stretch. My muscles are kind of tight. I should do this. I should do this. Every minute of the day I was making decisions. And then by late afternoon, I was like, nah, enough of this. This is just fatiguing me. So I planned the rest of the day at that point. But I ended up actually wasting a lot of time because I didn't know what to do. I would just default to like sitting down and going on my phone. I don't know what to do. So it's these actual tiny little decisions that fatigue us throughout the day. A couple more examples here. Notifications. I do not have notifications on my phone. I think if you have notifications on your phone, you are seriously getting those death by 1,000 cuts. Because if every time someone posts something on Instagram, every time somebody sends you a message on Instagram, you're getting a notification, that's affecting your focus. That's affecting what you're doing in that moment. So if you're trying to study and you get a notification, I see this all the time. Every time a student will keep checking their phone because they've got notifications on and it keeps pinging. That is going to drain your energy. It's going to keep pulling your attention away because they've done studies on this. When you're in a flow, when you're studying, and you take your attention away to something else for even 1 minute, it actually takes you almost up to 20 minutes for you to bring your attention back to what you're doing. So you think it's an innocent 1 minute check of your phone, but actually when you just check your phone for literally 1 minute, it can drain your attention for up to 20 minutes. So I literally just have my notifications off always, because I don't want one notification suddenly taking 15 minutes out of my day just because someone posted something, just because some person who I barely talk to sent me a message. Right? I'm not saying I don't reply to people, but I want to open the apps to check people's messages when I consciously decide to do that. So maybe at nighttime, I'm like, okay, now I'm going to check this app and see who messaged me. I don't want to be literally like in the middle of my day, deciding what to do next, get a message that pulls me off course. It makes me think about it. It pulls me out for like 10 minutes. The other big thing is checking your phone first thing in the morning. This is one of the biggest things, to be honest, one of the biggest habits. If you are somebody I used to be someone who checked my phone first thing in the morning when I woke up. I would wake up, I would literally scroll on my phone for 30 minutes. The first couple of times I tried literally leaving my phone outside my room and waking up to a manual alarm clock, I swear I felt like a completely different person. Because it's mainly for those first 30 minutes of the day. I'm not sure the science behind it. I might look into it. But when you wake up, you're transitioning from this sleep state to this awake state. And it's that time that's very essential for reflection. It's that time that things get very easily imprinted into you. So if you're going onto YouTube and you're looking at different videos, you're going onto social media, you're reacting to things, it's going to make you more reactive throughout the day. And it's going to leave you stuck in the loop with whatever you saw. So the point I'm trying to make is what you see first thing in the morning affects you a lot throughout the day. If you see something that makes you stressed, it's going to make you stressed throughout the day. And when you're reacting to what you're seeing on your phone, you become a lot more reactive throughout the day. So what I noticed is when I would check my phone first thing in the morning, I would be more likely to keep checking my phone throughout the day. And when I wouldn't check my phone first thing in the morning, I would feel a lot less reactive throughout the day, needing to check my phone. So those first 30 minutes are really, really powerful. So it's these tiny little habits that actually affect you that you don't realize. Death by 1,000 cuts. Okay, the next point I want to, the principle I meant to call this, by the way, is what I wrote here is successful people subtract, not add. So we think success is about adding a bunch of different things. I'm going to add cold showers. I'm going to add journaling. I'm going to add, this habit. I'm going to do all these things. But actually a lot of success is actually about subtracting. So we actually have so many things that we're doing throughout our day, so many different activities, so many different people, so many different things. And actually success is not about adding more things. A big part of it is about removing things. This is what I learned from so many books. So the book, The 4-Hour Workweek, talks about this thing called an 80-20 analysis. So what it says is that 20% of the things that you do give you 80% of your results. So essentially what this means is there are a few things that you're doing that are actually more powerful than the rest of the things you're doing. So what I do is every few weeks or every few months, whenever I remember, I do what's called an 80-20 analysis. So I basically take a look at my life, every area of my life, and I think, where am I wasting my energy? I think, first of all, the people I'm hanging around. Who are the 20% of people that are causing me 80% of my stress? Basically, who are the people who are causing me the most pain in my life? Who are the clients that are causing me the most pain in my life for my business? What are the 20% of activities that are causing me the most stress in my life? So for example, I'll do the analysis and I'll realize like a lot of the books I'm reading are a complete waste of time. I'm not learning anything from them. So I'll stop reading those books. Or I'll realize these activities I'm doing, these habits I'm doing are a waste of time. I'm going to stop doing that. Or I notice that, I like to do this I really like to do this with the content I consume. So I'm very, very careful with the things I consume. So I really ask myself, what are the 20% of creators, 20% of authors who are giving me 80% of my value in my life? Like, I don't watch much YouTube. I'm not going to lie to you. Saying this, I'm probably going to lose subscribers, but I truly believe in this. I don't watch much YouTube. And I really am only subscribed to very few YouTubers, and I really don't watch them too much. And in terms of authors, I really like to read, but I don't read a wide variety of stuff. Like I read a wide variety of stuff, but there are a few books that I really recycle over and over again. The best books I literally read like hundreds of times, dozens of times. So I try to do this 80-20 analysis as much as I can in my life and figure out, where am I wasting my energy? What am I wasting my time on? Who are the people I'm hanging out with who I'm not getting anything out of and they're just draining me, for example? Our next time management principle I want to give you is a concept called high leverage habits. So essentially, there are thousands of habits we can implement throughout the day, but there are a couple habits that really give us a much higher leverage. So I explained a couple before, like using your phone first thing in the morning, but I'll give another one that I mentioned, that I discovered recently. Like sometimes you might realize that your day is going fine, but suddenly out of nowhere, your day just spirals out of control. Maybe you were studying really well, you were doing well, and then suddenly you're on your phone all day. You're doing all these bad habits. It's often often throughout our day, there are these what are they called? There's like a fork point where suddenly your day can go really, really good, or suddenly it can go really, really bad. So it's these tiny little points which can affect the rest of our day, and I call them high leverage habits. So I'll give you an example of one recently. So recently, maybe for the past 2 months, I've noticed that if I stay home, I get a lot more distracted. Something about my home recently has really been distracting me, and I've found it pretty difficult to focus as well as I used to. So one really high leverage habit that I've been doing recently that my friend Tushar has been pushing me to do is he has been pushing me to leave my house. He's been helping me. Basically, I meet up with him and I leave my house. And what I've noticed is when I leave my house after lunchtime, the rest of my day goes completely different than if I were to stay at home. Because if I were to stay at home at that time, I might eat lunch, then I might rest a little bit longer than usual after lunch, then I might find it a bit difficult to get back into the momentum and everything. But I find if I leave my house, I don't know what it is, but suddenly the rest of my day goes a lot better. So that's an example of a high leverage habit. So another thing that used to affect me a lot is after meals. So I would feel very, very energized, very, very focused. And then if I had a really big meal, I would want to sleep, I would want to rest. And often after a meal, my entire day would just skyrocket out of control. So what I would do is I would try to change my habit that I would do after my meal. Instead of lying down or something, I would go for a walk. I would try to stay awake and alert and digest that food naturally, rather than laying around and letting it affect the rest of my day. Our next principle I've got here is a very, very interesting one, but it's how to actually get hours back from your day, from your life. So one thing I noticed was, what I like to do is I like to make a timetable. I like to literally plan every single minute of my days, and I like to follow them because I find it removes the need to make decisions throughout the day. It makes it very easy. I know, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. It reduces the need to think. I think it's a really good thing to do, planning every single minute of your day. But when I first started doing this, I ran into a problem. The night before, I would plan every minute of my day and everything would go well. But when it would come time to actually do those activities, I would push them off. And then because I would push off one activity, that would affect the next one and the next one and the next one. And my days ended up being out of control. And I ended up feeling so bad because my days went out of control. And so at nighttime, I would feel bad to plan my next day because things got out of control, etc., etc. So the reality is, time management principles are good, but they're only surface level. The reality is, deep in your mind, if you don't fix your underlying self-sabotage patterns, time management principles will never work long term. Like maybe you've been watching YouTube for a long time. Maybe you've been learning all these principles and they might work for you for a little bit, but you always seem to come back to your old self-sabotaging bad habit patterns. It's because you need to address the underlying issue. You need to address the underlying patterns. And what that means is you have to work on your mental health. You have to work on your mind. You have to change your patterns. Because basically there's a description that I like. Basically, it feels like you're swimming upstream. Whenever you apply these principles, they're nice, but they're all surface level, right? They use willpower. And so they work for a little bit of time because you're pushing through your patterns. You're going against your, conditioning, which is pushing you away from studying. But it feels like you're swimming upstream. Eventually you're going to run out of energy and you're going to fall back. You're going to go back to your bad habits. You're going to go back to your old ways. So what you need to do is you need to literally stop the stream. You need to stop that part of you that's pulling you down, that's pulling you away, so that you can feel like you're swimming upstream. Because let me tell you, studying, you want to get good grades. You want to study, right? So it's weird because you want to do it, yet you're self-sabotaging yourself. You're not doing it. You're wasting days. You're procrastinating. It's because your brain is not on your side. So what you need to do is you need to get that part of your brain with you, that part of your mind with you, because studying is meant to feel calm. It's meant to feel enjoyable. It's meant to feel like you're flowing with the river. So unless you deal with your underlying unconscious patterns, it's not going to help. So this year, I started meditating 2 hours per day. And it might seem like a waste of time. Like, what? Why are you meditating 2 hours per day? You could take that time and you can use it to be productive. Well, here's the thing. Since I've been meditating 2 hours a day, I have been able to focus better. I've been able to procrastinate less. And in the long term, I've actually been more productive. Now, being productive is not the only reason that I meditate, but it's a very nice side benefit that shows that actually the root cause of why you struggle with time in the first place is your mental health. It's your mental patterns. It's your unconscious patterns. So it's actually a good investment of your time to actually work on your mental health every single day. Just like you would work on your physical health every single day, you would go to the gym, you would work on your muscles. Working on your mind is very, very important. Understanding your patterns, becoming aware of your patterns, understanding what are my triggers, understanding what are my fears, like what are the negative feelings that I'm running away from my work. Because procrastination is nothing but you escaping a negative feeling. So when your brain associates some kind of negative feeling with studying, that's what makes it want to run away, because your brain is wired for survival, not to get A's. So your brain actually sees studying as a threat to its survival. What it means is just become aware of your patterns. Understand what's running you. Understand why you struggle with time management in the first place. And then all these principles will work so much better on top of that. So that's exactly why I built my community below, because we can actually help you personally find what are those blocks that are holding you back. So check out the link if you're interested. But the truth is, you still have to put in the work. You still have to understand your own patterns. You still have to observe your behavior throughout the day. Understand, okay, how am I being triggered? What am I running away from? And understanding yourself at the deeper level. You have to still put in the work yourself. Nobody can come help you. Nobody can come save you. Just like, in the gym, you can get a personal trainer. You can watch a bunch of YouTube videos. You can get people to help you. But you, in the end, still need to get in there and lift the weights. You still need to put in the work and exercise. So I truly think that one of the best things we can do as students is to work on our mental health every single day. It will give you hours back. It will give you hours of your life back. Because think how much of your life you've wasted procrastinating. You will get all that back by working on your mental health. All right, the final thing I want to go through very briefly here is something called intentional rest. So basically, something that I used to experience was I used to feel like I was resting all the time in university. I was, often I wasn't studying. I was scrolling on my phone. I was playing video games. So I felt like I was resting all day. So I felt like I didn't deserve rest. But here's the thing. When I was resting, when I was on my phone, my mind was stressed. My mind was thinking like, okay, we're here scrolling, but we need to be studying. We got to do this. My future, like every moment of the day, I felt like I was wasted if I was not working towards my goals, if I was not working on my business, if I was not working on my studies, for example. I felt like I was wasting time. And here's the thing. When you're constantly in that state all day, when you're constantly stressed, your mind doesn't actually get rest. You actually end up studying worse in the long run. Because if you understand how focus works, how studying works, you need to rest. Because your brain is a muscle, right? When you focus, it's like you're using the muscle. And just like you hit your muscles in the gym, you have to recover. You need to sleep. You need to rest your muscles. So sleep is important, but we also need to rest throughout our days. Because as students, we're constantly turned on, like I said. So here's what I like to do. I like to intentionally schedule rest in my days, in my weeks, guilt-free. So what I used to like to do was I would look throughout my week and I would think, okay, where do I want to put sports? Where do I want to put social activity? Where do I want to put time to work on my mental health? Where do I want to put time to put my hobbies? And during those times, I would be 100% with those activities. I wouldn't be thinking about work. I wouldn't be with my friends thinking, oh, I should be studying, I should be studying. I wouldn't be playing sports thinking, oh, I should be studying, I should be studying. I would put all my energy into those activities. So I would actually intentionally rest and allow my brain to actually rest from the studying. The other thing is there's something called diffuse mode, where basically when you turn off that focusing part of your brain and you intentionally rest, your brain actually consolidates ideas. It actually creatively comes up with ideas as well. Basically, if you want to know the science behind it, your nervous system enters what's called the default mode network. So actually this time in your day is necessary, it's essential. You have to set it aside. So another big benefit of this, by the way, is something called Parkinson's law. So what that means is basically a task will take you as long as the time you allocate towards it. So a simple way that students like to understand this, if you've got an essay due in a month, it's going to take you a month to complete it. If you've got that same essay due in 3 days, you'll be done with it in 3 days. So when you like even during exam season, let's say, I would intentionally put social activity. I would intentionally put rest time at the end of the day. I would intentionally put sports. I would intentionally put time to go for a walk. And what I noticed was, let's say for example, I had sports coming up in 3 hours. I would work under more pressure. I would actually push a little bit harder because I knew that sport was coming. We unconsciously do this. But if we have the entire day free to study, we'll probably waste like 6 hours of it and then spend the last bit studying. But weirdly enough, if we have that last bit of the day blocked off with an activity, then we will get all that work done in the first part of the day. So when you actually intentionally schedule things, you actually end up working faster. This is one of the biggest time management principles, creating artificial urgency. So actually when you put activities, intentional rest throughout your day, you actually end up working faster. So I love to play sports. Even during exam season, I would do all this stuff. I wouldn't slow down. So that's it. That's the time management principles I have for you. Let me know if they helped at all. But yeah, first link in the description if you're interested in my online community. We can literally help you figure out what's holding you back, what patterns are holding you back. And in the next month, we're very much focused on procrastination. We've got a lot of material coming out. We're deep diving into procrastination. So don't wait till later in the semester. Break your patterns now. Start saving a bunch of your time. Because think about how much time procrastination has taken away from you in your life. If you even get one insight from this, it will literally save you years of your life. So if that's something you're interested in, check out the first link in the description. But otherwise, see you later.